Well, hi everyone. Welcome to another virtual story time here on Facebook Live. I'm really glad to connect with you. Now, today is Friday, which means that for me, this is the 7th full day and the 8th if you count a partial day of being mostly at home, of working from home. And I don't know how long it's been for you that you've been mostly at home and that you haven't been able to either go back to school or to visit your friends at the playground or maybe go to classes that you go to like gymnastics or things like that. But it's day 8 for me. And it's Friday, which means that the weekend's almost here, which I'm very thankful for. And so today we are going to read another chapter from our book, which I'm really enjoying, and I hope that you are too. It's Mary Jones and Her Bible. This is the book we've been reading, and it's time today for chapter 6, which means we have 6, 7, 8. 3 more chapters, which means after Sunday morning we'll be all finished. So after Sunday, we'll probably go to a virtual story time just one day a week. Let's keep doing this for a while though. So let's do the virtual story time on Saturdays. So we'll continue through this weekend and then we'll pick up again just on Saturdays. How does that sound? Well, for those of you that have been reading along live here on Facebook, I'm really happy that you're back today. I know a lot of people have also been catching up with the stories after they're live, and so that's great too. Tomorrow, which is Saturday, I am going to have someone special come and visit you here in virtual story time. So I'll still share the story, but this person will come and share her favorite Bible promise with you. Oh, I just gave you a big hint. I said her. And what I'd love for you to do is to, between now and when we meet again tomorrow, to think about your favorite Bible promises and what they are. You know, during a season of uncertainty like this, where we don't know how long we're going to have to be inside more and how long some of our favorite activities are going to be closed, it's good to remember that God's promises are just as real and just as true, and we can claim them by faith just like any other time in our lives. And so let's share some of our favorite Bible promises tomorrow, and I'll pick a few of my own too, and this special person will share hers too. Well, let's think about what you've been doing this week to stay busy. I think the first time we met, I told you that my daughter Naomi had been baking. So she's been baking bread and she's been baking muffins. And this week we ran out of one essential ingredient that you need for baking bread, and that's yeast. You need to have yeast when you make bread because that's what makes it rise. And the grocery store didn't have any. So I was able to slip out to the grocery store early this morning before a lot of people were there, and I found some more yeast. So I'm happy to tell you that Naomi can start baking bread again. She'll be really excited about that. I haven't told her that yet. And my older daughter, Natalie, has been home too. She's been doing her college classes online, and she's been doing a little bit of baking too. She actually made a recipe for some sugar cookies the other day, but the dough didn't quite turn out as she expected it to, and she didn't want to waste what she had already created, and so she made a crisp bottom with some blackberries and thickened it up to be a nice yummy blackberry mix, and then she crumbled the cookie dough on top to make it like a topping for the crisp, and ooh, it was really good. So I hope that you're finding some creative things to maybe do in the kitchen too. Some things that my family loves to bake. We love to bake muffins. Banana muffins seem to be the favorite because we always have bananas in the house that are a little bit overripe, and they're perfect for banana muffins. I like blueberry muffins. Those are my favorites. I don't think the rest of my family likes blueberry muffins very much though. And of course, we love to bake bread. We haven't done that very much the last few years. So having a little more time at home has been nice to be able to do that. Something else you can do with bread dough that isn't a loaf of bread, you can make cinnamon rolls. Delicious. You can make little buns with different fillings in them, whether you make the buns rolled like a cinnamon roll, but with more savory ingredients like cheese or vegetables, or you can make a little bun pockets where you have ingredients inside the bun. Those are really good. So not just baking, maybe you've had a chance to do some cooking too. Maybe there are some favorite recipes that a family member, your mom or your dad, always makes, or grandma or grandpa, and you think, ooh, I wonder how they make that, because I would love to have my favorite recipe right now. And you could talk to your parents if they're right there in the house with you, or get on a video conference or pick up the phone and talk to your grandparents and say, oh, remember that favorite recipe that you always make? How do you make it? I want to learn. This is a great time to learn those things. And you can even write down the recipes, then you have them for later, whether you're going to be moving out to go away to college or something in the next few years, or if you just want to create your own recipe book for the day that you need it. So those are some ideas of what you can be doing in the kitchen. Now, here in Colorado, it snowed a little bit yesterday. We had really nice warm weather the other day, and hi, Miss Danielle, and hi to Benjamin too. I didn't say hi to Benjamin yesterday. Hi. We had nice warm spring weather a couple of days ago, and then yesterday it snowed, and today there's a little tiny bit of snow on the ground, not a lot, but it was chilly when I went out to the grocery store this morning. It really was. So I'm hoping that we get some warm weather again very soon, because one thing that's so nice when we all have to be at home more is to be able to go outside and go for a nice long walk in the sunshine. And you know, that's what Mary does in our chapter of Mary Jones and her Bible. She goes on a very long walk. I think a longer walk than any of us have ever gone on. So why don't we pick up our story now? So we are on, let me just clean my reading glasses because I forgot to do that today while I was waiting for you to join me. Let's see if I can see. Not too bad. So we are on chapter 6 of Mary Jones and her Bible. And again, if you're just finding this video, you can go back on our Facebook page, Discovery Mountains Facebook page. You can find all the previous videos for every chapter. We've been reading a chapter a day, and they're all there for you to watch anytime that you have the opportunity. All right, well, let's find out what happens next with Mary Jones. She lived in Wales at the very end of the 1700s into the early 1800s, and she's been saving for a Bible. So let's find out what happens next. One Sunday, some months after Lewis Williams had come to Abergynowyn, Mary noticed that he used a new Bible in class at the Sunday school. Now remember yesterday in the last chapter, we learned a little bit about Mary's new teacher, Lewis Williams. He was a young man about 18 years old when he became a Christian, and he was so inspired to learn to read and to teach so that he could help the boys in his area to learn, that he learned to read just so he could become a teacher. And he's been Mary's teacher for the last little while. So that's who Lewis Williams is, if you forgot. Mary eyed his Bible longingly, longing, that is, to have a closer look at the fresh white pages, to touch the smooth new covers. Williams noticed her look. "This is my new Bible," he said with quiet pride. He had known for some time of Mary's love of the Bible, and after the lesson was over and the other scholars were moving away, he held out his Bible to her. "Look at it," he said. "It is quite new. Mr. Charles kept it for me when he got a new consignment. I saved for 2 years to buy it," he added. "Welsh Bibles are so expensive." Mary passed her hand lovingly over the binding. But when Lewis Williams spoke of saving up for his Bible for 2 years, she gave a little exclamation. "I have been saving for nearly 6 years," she said, "and still I don't have enough." 6 years, repeated Williams. "Yes," Mary answered, "little by little, and I shall go on until I have saved enough," she added with cheerful determination. She then told Williams of a few of her ways and means of saving, and he listened, profoundly interested. Any tale of resolute effort roused an answering enthusiasm in him. "You will not be long now," he said encouragingly. "Keep up your heart. God will provide." A few months later, when Mary took some needlework up to Mrs. Evans' the farm, she was paid by that good friend twice what she had expected. Secretly, Mrs. Evans thought it was time to hasten the fulfillment of Mary's hope, and when Mary exclaimed that this money would finish the long years of saving, Mrs. Evans was very pleased. "Have you really got enough for your Bible at last, Mary?" she cried. "Well, I am glad I was the one to give the finishing touch, so to speak. For I have been wishing, yes, and saying a little prayer for you too, that the day would come at last." Thank you, ma'am," said Mary, "and now I must run home and tell Father and Mother." Mary skimmed rather than ran down the mountain path to her home. The joy in her face made any whom she met, even strangers, look and smile and speak a word of greeting to her. At last she lifted the latch of the door and darted into the cottage. "Oh, Mother, Father, I have enough money at last. Mrs. Evans paid me much more than I expected, and I have all the money that I need." Mary's voice was tense with excitement. "Thanks be to God," said Mrs. Jones. Jacob pushed back his chair and stretched out his arms, and Mary ran to him. "Oh, Father, I am so glad, so very glad." "And it has really come at last," said Jacob. "After 6 years of working and waiting, God be praised, my brave little lass." Mary sat with her head against her father's shoulder for a while. Though the long years of effort had never seemed a burden to her, now that they were ended, she experienced a feeling of lightness and freedom. But her mind soon set to work again. "Now that I have the money, Father," she said, "where shall I get my Bible? There is none to be had here in Llanfihangel or at Abergynolwyn." "We must think about that," said Jacob, "and inquire. I think our pastor, William Hugh, would know best who we should ask. Go tomorrow and ask him." And so the next day, Mary went to the nearby village where their pastor lived and asked his advice. "No," he said, "there are no Welsh Bibles to be had in this district. They seem to be getting more and more scarce. I doubt, Mary child, if you will get one from anyone but the Reverend Thomas Charles right away in Bala, and even he may not have any. It is getting to be a shame in the country that we Welsh people cannot get a Bible in our own language." Mary went away feeling very downcast, and on the way she met Lewis Williams. "Good evening, Mary Jones," he said. She was no longer a student at the school, but he was still interested in her. Her intelligence and her steadfastness appealed to him strongly. "You look as if something unpleasant has happened," he added. "Nothing wrong at home, I hope?" "Oh, no, Mr. Williams," answered Mary. "Nothing unpleasant has happened. Rather the other way. I have saved enough for my Bible." "Good," cried Williams. "Bravo." "But now I am puzzled," Mary went on. "I have the money, and now I do not know how I can get my Bible. Mr. Hugh, whom I have just been to see, says that he does not think I will get one anywhere nearer than Bala from Mr. Charles." "Then go to Bala and get one," urged Lewis Williams. "Lose no time, Mary, for they are in such demand. It is some months since I got mine from Mr. Charles." "Bala is a long way away, isn't it?" asked Mary. "How did you get your Bible?" "I walked there," Williams answered. "It's only 25 miles. I went on a Saturday and came back very early on Sunday morning in time for the Sunday school." "Thank you, Mr. Williams," said Mary. "I will talk about it with my father and mother." Mary went home, her mind excited about this new plan. "I must go to Bala," she told her parents. "Surely Mr. Charles will have a Bible left, and if so, that one shall be mine." "Walk to Bala?" exclaimed Mrs. Jones. "Oh, Mary dear, it is so far, and a strange, wild road. I'm afraid for you to go alone." "I shall not be alone," Mary answered, "for Jesus says, 'I am with you always.' He will be walking with me all the way. Mother, Father," she said earnestly, "I know I am doing right." "Yes, Mary dear," answered Jacob solemnly. "You have been guided all these years, and I feel that this is the Lord's will, and he will take care of you." "We must let her go, Molly," he said, turning to Mrs. Jones, "or we may be found fighting against God, and that would be a poor thing after all that has passed." And so Mary prepared for her journey. Her heart beat fast at the thought of the long walk alone to a place that she had never seen, and of the ordeal of meeting the famous Mr. Charles, who was to her a great personage. But her purpose never wavered. She had made up her mind, and so she would do it. The day before she had fixed for her expedition, she ran down to old Mrs. Reese's cottage and told her of her great plan. Remember Mrs. Reese? She's the lady that Mary gathered sticks for, and Mrs. Reese paid her. "I want to know if you will kindly lend me that nice wallet that you have," Mary said. "I must carry some food for the day, and my mother's purse with my precious money in it. I must also carry my shoes, for they would be worn out if I wore them all that long way." Wow, so she's going to walk barefoot. "That I certainly will," cried the old woman. "You have saved me many a backache by gathering my sticks. There it is, and you are welcome. God bless and prosper you until you return." "With my Bible," said Mary, her eyes shimmering with hope. The next morning, Mary left her bed at dawn. She washed and dressed and combed her thick, glossy hair with the greatest care. Was not this to be the most important day in her life? Her parents were already preparing a meal for her in the living room below, and after they had eaten and drunk together, they all knelt and prayed for blessing and protection from Mary on her great adventure. Then, quietly kissing her parents and slinging the wallet and her boots over her shoulder, she went out barefooted into the sweet early spring morning. As Mary walked lightly on the soft turf by the wayside, she could hear a song thrush fluting in the tree, a bird. Rabbits, not expecting human folk to be abroad so early, sat up and looked at her, and then loppeted away into their burrows. The mountains looked soft and friendly in the sunshine. Mary looked up at their broad slopes and the rocky crags. They looked sort of protecting today, she thought, as if they knew that I am going all by myself on a long journey and that they are taking care of me. Mary quickened her step. "The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil," she thought, repeating a Bible verse. "And I am going for my Bible. I am really on my way to get my Bible. I can hardly believe it even yet." The miles slipped past her, almost unheeded, and as the morning wore on, a town of some size came into view. An old man was trimming a hedge by the roadside, and he wished Mary a good morning. Mary returned the greeting. "What is that town, please?" she then asked. "That is Dalgelly," answered the old farmer. "Oh," said Mary, "is Dalgelly very far from Bala?" "Yes," said the old man with a little laugh, "a very long way. Are you going to Bala?" "Yes," said Mary. "Then you had better slip along," advised the old man. "You have a good many miles to go yet." Mary thanked him and went on, and presently saw a gate leading into a grassy field. "I will go in and sit on the grass," she thought, "and have some dinner." So she rested and enjoyed the lovely scene while she ate her dinner. Then she found a little wayside stream rippling over the clean washed stones. She drank some water and washed her face and hands. Then, rested and refreshed, she started out again. It was now afternoon and the sun was hot. The way, too, lay along a dusty road, and Mary felt her bare feet grow sore and tired as she walked along. Once she saw a woman standing in a cottage garden who looked kindly over the hedge at her. "Is it very far to Bala, ma'am?" Mary asked. "Oh, a long way," the woman answered. "Many miles." "Are you going to Bala? You look hot and tired, child. Sit on that bench and rest a minute, and I will bring you out some buttermilk." "Thank you, ma'am," said Mary gratefully, and she rested while the good woman went and fetched the buttermilk in a beautifully painted jug with a mug to drink from. That drink of buttermilk was the most delicious that Mary had ever tasted, for she had never been so tired and thirsty in her life before. "Have you come from far, child?" asked the kindly woman. "I don't seem to know you." "I have come from Lanfehangle," answered Mary, "a long way away, near Barmouth. And as you say that Bala is many miles farther on, I think I must hurry on, thanking you very kindly for the buttermilk." "Yes," agreed the woman, "you must get there before dark." Mary walked quickly on again. The woman's remark about getting to Bala before dark rather alarmed her. To be in this strange place was different from running about in the familiar paths in the dark at home. The shadows were growing long when Mary saw a young girl sitting at the door of a little farm eating her supper. "Is it very far to Bala?" Mary asked her. "No, not far," the girl answered. "It is just down the hill." "Have you walked far?" "I'm having my supper out here because it is so hot in the kitchen. Come and have supper with me. I'm sure you must be very hungry." "Thank you," said Mary. "Yes, I am hungry and tired. I have come right over from near Barmouth today." "All that way?" exclaimed the farmer's daughter. "You must be a good walker. Here, take a piece more cheese." "Yes, I am a good walker," said Mary, "and it has been a lovely walk." But she did not say what had chiefly made it such a lovely walk. And that, of course, is because she was going for her Bible, right? "We never go out for walks," said the girl. "It is all work, work, work on the farm here." "Oh, I work very hard too," Mary answered. "Megan," called a voice from the kitchen, "haven't you finished your supper yet, or are you going to sit out there all night?" "There, Mother is calling," exclaimed the girl. "I must go in. It is not far to Bala now. Good night." "Good night, and thank you very much," said Mary, and went on her way with a glad heart. Lights were shining from some of the windows of Bala as Mary walked down the hill. She could see the great lake gleaming softly in the dim light. It all seemed very beautiful. Mary's first care when she entered the little town was to find the house of the Methodist preacher to whom her pastor in Lanfehangle had directed her as someone who would be sure to give her all the help that he could. "Can you tell me where Pastor David Edwards lives?" Mary asked of a woman who was coming out of a house. "Yes," answered the woman. "I am going that way. I will show you." The Welsh people are ever willing to direct a stranger, even if it means going out of their way to do so. Ooh, we're on our last page of this chapter. Mary and her new friend chatted as they walked along the street, and soon the woman pointed to a house across the way. "That is where Pastor Edwards lives," she said. "Oh, that is nothing. You are welcome," in answer to Mary's thanks, she said. "Good evening." Mary knocked at Pastor Edwards' door, and the pastor himself answered. He looked a little puzzled at this late visitor until Mary told him that Pastor Hugh had recommended her to come to him. Then he invited her in and listened with the kindest interest to her story. "You must certainly see Mr. Charles," he said, "but not tonight. It is too late. But I will take you to him early tomorrow morning. He rises early, for he is such a busy gentleman, and I am sure he will gladly do what he can for you. You will sleep here. My wife will prepare the guest bed for you. You must have some food, and then I am sure that you need rest badly." Mary was soon shown to her room, and after a short prayer of thanksgiving for her safe journey, she stretched her weary limbs out in the bed. The psalm that she had thought of all that day and had been her companion returned to her mind, and she repeated it as she rested. "He that keepeth me will not slumber," she thought. "No, I am safe, and I am going to get my Bible tomorrow." And with that, she fell happily asleep. Wow, what a long, long journey Mary had to go and get her Bible. She walked all the way. It sounds like she walked from the early, early morning when the sun was barely up until the sun was setting. I have never walked an entire day like that before. I don't know about you. I've gone on some pretty long hikes, but none that long. But God kept her safe through it all and gave her kind people who gave her buttermilk and supper, and she wasn't alone. God was with her. Well, tomorrow we'll pick up the next chapter, because tomorrow Mary finally gets to go and see Mr. Charles and ask him for a Welsh Bible. And I can't wait to hear the next part of that story. I don't know about you. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of our time together today, tomorrow we're going to read the next chapter, the second to last in our book. And I also want you, between now and then, to think of one of your favorite Bible promises. A promise in the Bible that gives you hope and gives you encouragement, makes you happy. And we're going to have someone join us who's going to share with us her favorite Bible verse too. And I haven't told you who it is, but I gave you a big hint when I said her. So she'll join us tomorrow too, and we'll look forward to reading again. So thanks for joining me for Virtual Storytime, and I'll see you here again on Facebook Live tomorrow. Bye. Stay healthy.